So what's the best way to sell a home? In this video, you'll find out. Hi, I'm John Wake with RealEstateDecoded.com. It's the place where together we crack the code and learn how real estate really works so you can be prepared before you buy or sell a home. I have a high school friend who one day heard a knock at the front door, opens it, and there's a famous musician at his front door. And the musician says, "I'm interested in buying your home." And he ended up, in fact, selling it to him. I have a friend from the neighborhood who used to live in Seattle, and when she was getting her home ready to sell, but before she had hired a real estate agent, a friend of a friend approached her and said, "Hey, I hear you're moving to Arizona and you're going to sell your home. I'd be interested in buying it." And indeed, she did buy that home. And in both cases, the seller did not have to pay a real estate agent. So they're saving 5 or 6%. It's a huge savings. The National Association of Realtors estimates that 91% of the homes that are sold in the United States are sold with the seller hiring a real estate agent. Now, that means 9% were sold without the seller hiring a real estate agent. But in fact, only about half of those are homes where you think of them as the for sale by owner, where the seller puts a sign in the yard and they put it on a website. They're actively selling it the same way a real estate agent would. But there's another part, the third way that homes are sold, that no one talks about because it's not in the best interest of real estate agents to talk about it. And it's not even in the interest of for sale by owner websites to talk about it. But about 4% of the homes sold in the United States, according to my estimate, and that's over 200,000 homes a year, are sold as word of mouth. They're sold by word of mouth before the seller hires a real estate agent. That's what happened to my two friends. It was super serendipitous for them to fall into the situation where a buyer just sort of shows up. But it's clearly the best way to sell a home because you're not paying the 5 or 6% to a real estate agent, and it's a lot easier. You're not doing any of the marketing. For example, you don't have to get the home as spectacularly looking. You don't have to have it staged, for example. You don't have to get that call that says, "Oh, there's a showing in an hour. Can we get the kids or the dogs and get them out?" And it's a pain in the neck to sell a house. They had none of that. So the question is this just pure luck, or can we kind of make our own luck to improve the odds that we can sell our home this way? And I think you can. So this is what I suggest you do. If you're thinking of selling your home in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, right now start telling everybody you know that you're planning to hire a real estate agent in 1, 2, 3 months or whatever. Get it out to all of your friends, to all of your neighbors. Neighbors are particularly good because they may know somebody wants to move into the neighborhood. Tell the parents of your children's friends at school. Tell the people on your softball team. Tell the people at work who are your friends. Tell the people at church that are your friends. Tell everybody you know that you're thinking of selling, and tell them you'll have more flexibility on price before you hire a real estate agent. So while you're telling everyone that, be sure and also ask them for real estate agents they recommend, because eventually you could get to the point where you go back to plan A, which is hiring a real estate agent. So get those recommendations now and find out recommendations on real estate agents that are people they've actually used. Don't just go for the ones where they say, "Oh, this is a great real estate agent. She's a neighbor or she's in my book club." That's nice. But what you really want is someone to say, "Yeah, this is a real estate agent and she helped me sell my home and she was spectacular and it was in a similar neighborhood and a similar price range." That's what you want, is those great recommendations. So when you get to that time, if you haven't sold it by word of mouth, you're all set to start interviewing great real estate agents. So that's what I suggest. And also be aware that your work isn't done if you find the buyer. The hardest part in selling a home is finding the buyer, of course, but there's still other things that have to be done. You have to come to an agreement on price and terms, of course. You have to do inspections and repairs and disclosures. That has to be taken care of. And of course, there's just a lot of paperwork that has to be taken care of. Just because you find the buyer, those other things have to be taken care of as well. I could do hours and hours of videos on your options and those things. But if you have done the hardest part, which is find a buyer, you'll find a way to get that done. And there's lots of options on how to handle those things. And you could do me a great favor. If you have a friend who's going to sell a home in a year or two, if you could send them this video. I think it would be very valuable to them to see the video. I know it would be for me. So I'd appreciate that. And of course, if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to my website, realestatedecoded.com, and to the YouTube channel, which is the same name, Real Estate Decoded. Subscribe there. And lastly, if you could really help me out, if this has happened to you, if you've sold a house, word of mouth, before you contacted a real estate agent, let me know. I would love to hear your story. What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What would you suggest other people do? That will help me to find out. And also some of them I'll probably put on the website, so that could help a lot of other people as well. So I think you'd agree that the selling a home by word of mouth before you hire real estate is clearly the best way to sell a home. But there's a lot of serendipity to it as well. But I think we've talked a little bit about how you can make your own luck to a certain degree, to be a little more intentional about getting it done. So I hope you found this video valuable. Thank you very much for your time. Take care.